What's going on, guys? Beatbox Blade Slashing in here, and today I'm bringing you a video about what if Naruto had killed Kabuto when he hit him with his perfect Rasengan. Notice the microphone, or the headphones, because I'm using the mic. So, let's get this episode started. So, first, when Naruto was training with Jiraiya and he was having trouble perfecting the Rasengan, the first person he hit with it was Kabuto, as I just said, but if you don't remember, maybe this will refresh your memory. I remember that clear as day. So I thought when I first saw that was really awesome, because it showed that determination could like bring you pretty much through anything, since Naruto always believed he could do anything he wanted. And thus he did. Anyways, let's get on with this video. Naruto killed Kabuto with the Rasengan. So first, as I see down on my list, is that Orochimaru would have died from Tsunade. Because originally when Naruto hit Kabuto with the Rasengan, Tsunade like got up and realized, like his bravery could save the world and so on. And, like, don't be afraid of whatever. And thus she beat the tar out of Orochimaru. But now, since Orochimaru isn't there, since Kabuto isn't there, Tsunade would have just straight up killed Orochimaru, because at the time, Kabuto couldn't use his arms, because the third Hokage took them. And since Kabuto isn't there to help Orochimaru, he literally can't do anything. So Tsunade would have, like, destroyed him. Yeah. So Tsunade would have killed Orochimaru. Let's look down here. Now, next one is Tsunade wouldn't have gotten over her fear of blood. This isn't really that important, but I thought I'd put it in. Well, as I was explaining earlier, when Naruto hit Kabuto with that Rasengan, she, like a little bit after, I suppose, she felt this surge of I suppose, responsibility, which is what got her over her fear of blood. And with that whole thing not okay, so when Kabuto, in the original story, when Kabuto was hit, he had something to make himself regenerate, I suppose. And then because when Naruto hit him with the Rasengan, he grabbed Naruto's heart and used his chakra to cut it or something, or disable it. And thus Naruto was incapacitated. So while he was knocked out, Tsunade then made her realization. And since that whole thing didn't happen, Tsunade wouldn't have gotten over her fear of blood. I didn't mean for this side note to be so deep. Right, next one. Now it's that Tsunade wouldn't have become Hokage. This is a bit of a stretch, but let me explain. Tsunade wouldn't have become Hokage is because when Naruto was knocked out and she learned about responsibility, as I just said, since she wouldn't have learned that because Naruto killed him on impact, she wouldn't have gotten responsibility and over her fear of blood. Thus she wouldn't have became the Hokage, because it was because of that she became Hokage. And since that didn't happen, she wouldn't have become Hokage. I know I'm just repeating myself, but whatever. You get the idea. Alright, next is that Jiraiya would have become the Hokage. Because, you know, Orochimaru, well, he was evil, but as of now, he'd be dead. And Tsunade wouldn't have done it. Like, Tsunade wouldn't have done it because, as for the reasons I just explained. And Kakashi was still too young and didn't know as much as he did, and thus they wouldn't have had him do it. But yeah, so Jiraiya, since Jiraiya would be the only one left, they would have had to appoint him as Hokage, and since he knew that he was the only one that would still, who would like be worthy of taking up the title of Hokage, he would have became the Hokage. hmm And because of him becoming Hokage, Jiraiya, or not Jiraiya, Naruto wouldn't have spent that time, those like 2.5 years or 3 years with Jiraiya. And thus, that ends Naruto. Now let's go on to Naruto Shippuden, as I look at my list. Now, everyone, this one is a little bit vague, but this is what I came up with. Everyone in Naruto's class would have been weaker. Like, not like super weak, but they would have been weaker because it was at the end of Naruto, at the end of like season 3, which is how many seasons there were. They were all talking about like Naruto is going to train with Jiraiya, the one of the Sannin. So I have to get stronger. I have to. And since Naruto wasn't going to train with Jiraiya, they would have just continued their training like normally. Naruto would have as well. And they wouldn't have had the push to make them stronger. It's like how I said in my last video about Naruto not learning the Rasen Shuriken because Sasuke wasn't there to push him. Which, if you want to go see that, there's a link in the description. And now, the next point, which takes everything on a spiral, is that Sakura wouldn't have gotten her monster strength because she learned it from Tsunade, and with Tsunade not being the Hokage, she obviously wasn't there, and Sakura wouldn't have got her strength, and she would have became completely useless because all she had going for her was her strength and her medical ninjutsu. And now she probably still would have learned medical ninjutsu because her chakra control was exceptional. She would have like sought out like the medical team or whatever and learned it still, probably. But that's just a hunch. Okay, so this one takes a little bit of explaining. Kakashi would have put Deidara in his other Kamui dimension because with Sakura not having her monster strength, Kakashi would have known that Lady Chiyo and Sakura couldn't have taken Sasori. And with Naruto just like jumping after Deidara, being all willy-nilly, he knew Deidara would have captured him because Naruto was being an idiot. And thus, as soon as the battle started, he would have activated his Kamui, and he would have put Deidara in that other... He would have put Deidara and or Sasori, it didn't really matter, in the other dimension, and just kept them there. And then whoever was left would have died. I'm gonna say he sucked up Sasori. Or no, Deidara. That's what I mean. He would have sucked up Deidara into the other dimension, and then they would have cornered and probably killed Sasori. So yeah. And then, yeah. My next point was that they would kill Sasori. And Gaara would have still been brought back to life, but because of everything the Akatsuki did before it happened, they still would have gotten the One Tails from Gaara, and he still would have been brought back to life, because once they killed Sasori, once all four of them killed Sasori, they still would have been like, oh no, Gaara, and so on. And Naruto would go on his little Jinchuriki speech, and Lady Chiyo would see it and be like, I need to bring life back to this boy, or everything she did in the normal plot line. So yeah, Gaara would be brought back to life. And now, here's where it gets super interesting. The Leaf would have learned everything about the Akatsuki. Because, remember when I said Kakashi put Deidara in the Kamui? He put him in that other pocket dimension. So once they got back to the Leaf, he would have used Kamui, released Deidara, and had like a bunch of people like restrict him, and I suppose they could beat him up or knock him unconscious or whatever, and then they would have handed him over to the interrogation core in the Leaf, where Inoichi could read people's minds by his hand on their head. And they would have, since Deidara was one of the first members, they would have known everything about the Akatsuki. And thus, the Leaf would know everything about the Akatsuki. All the members, where their hideouts are, how many tailed beasts they have. Not a bad deal. But yeah, now, Naruto wouldn't have learned the Rasen Shuriken. Because when Naruto did his training with Jiraiya, he learned the Udama Rasengan, which is essentially just a bigger Rasengan. And because he didn't do the training with Jiraiya, he wouldn't have learned how to properly control chakra, because that was one of the main things he did, was learn how to control chakra better. And especially with the Rasengan, he wouldn't have learned how to even manipulate something that big. Thus, he wouldn't have been able to make the Rasen Shuriken or barely even wield it. Thus, he wouldn't have learned it. And then the Leaf would have killed most of the Akatsuki, because they interrogated Deidara. They knew everything. They literally knew everything about the Akatsuki, where all their hideouts are, where they are, any secrets. And thus, they would have sent people out, like, to kill these Akatsuki one by one, or, like, since they travel in pairs of two, they would have killed them 2 by 2. Sorry. They literally would have, like, cornered them and killed them because they were Akatsuki and they were getting tailed beasts. Oh, man. And I said would have killed most of the Akatsuki because they could kill everybody, but they couldn't kill Pain. They know about Pain. They know that he has the Rinnegan because of Jiraiya, but they wouldn't know how to combat the Rinnegan. And since Naruto knew the summoning jutsu and Jiraiya was there, Lord Fukasaku would have been like, Naruto boy, you need to learn Sage Mode and defeat Pain. And that's what would have happened, and Naruto would have beat Pain. Now next is that the 5 Kage Summit would have happened for a different reason. Because originally the 5 Kage Summit happened to find out what to do with the Akatsuki. But since the Akatsuki, most of them are dead, the only one who would be left would be Obito and or Madara. Well, Obito masquerading as Madara, since Pain would be dead because of Naruto's Sage Mode. Oh, man. The 5 Kage Summit would have still happened, so they could figure out what to do with what they should do about Madara Uchiha coming back. Or at least just, they didn't know that it was Obito, because Deidara didn't know that it was Obito. He never told anybody he was Obito. He just said, I'm Madara Uchiha, Madara, Madara, Madara. And now, this one's a bit far, but this is what I came up with. Sasuke would have been killed. What I mean by that is, since the Leaf would have killed Itachi, he'd be dead. Sasuke would hear about it, and his lifelong dream would be gone in the blink of a yellow flash, 4th Hokage. And thus he would be like, what do I do now? And he would keep pondering and pondering and pondering until he came to the conclusion of, I must make this world in my own image, because that's what he came up with after he killed Itachi in the original timeline. And he would have tried to go after the five Kage, which he did because he still would have known everything that he knew over a time, except he wouldn't have had his sword. He still would have known Lightning Blade and all that, and his fire attacks. He probably would have picked up Amaterasu after a while. He just wouldn't have his sword nor the eternal Mangekyo. But Sasuke would be killed because of the five Kage, except maybe Jiraiya, trying to kill him because Sasuke tried to kill them. And the rule in the world and or ninja world is, you try to kill me, that gives me the authority to kill you. Thus, that's what would have happened to Sasuke. And Sarada wouldn't be born. Period. Now, I got 2 more points left. Just bear with me. Obito would have given up. Because it would just be him. He only has 3 of the tailed beasts. All the Akatsuki are dead. He doesn't have Kabuto to reanimate anybody. It would just be him. It would all be up to him. And Obito by himself can't do anything. Well, he can do some things, but he can't do as much as he could with Kabuto reanimating everybody and all the Akatsuki members being there. So Obito simply would have given up. No, I wouldn't say he would give himself over to the shinobi forces or whatever. He would have simply given up on the infinite Tsukuyomi. Yeah. And now the last point is that the war would have been prevented. And I say that because of my last point. Obito would have given up. The war was started is because Obito launched it during the 5 Kage Summit. I mean, he could have still launched it, but he would have had nothing to back himself up. He wouldn't have had the 10 tails, he wouldn't have had his army of reanimated people. It would simply be Obito and 3-tailed beasts. And Naruto with his chakra handled 5 of them on his own. 5! Obito wouldn't have been able to do crap. He wouldn't have been able to do anything at all. Thus, everything that happened in the war would have been prevented. And Neji wouldn't have died. But, anyways, that's my theory. This has been Beatbox Blade, thinking out the box. Like, comment, subscribe, if you want to. It's always a big support to me. I'll see you guys later.